all artists are constantly growing. So it ends up being one of those things where like, yeah, eventually they are, you're going to outgrow where you're at.
Bear with me, I might fumble it, but this is another episode of More Than Tattoos, and we have a guest here we've been trying to connect with for a while. He's a Ohio boy, and we definitely follow him and look up to him as an artist, and every show I go to, he's bringing some hardware home, every time. It never fails, so Zak Perry. Yeah. Round of applause. We'll insert the sound here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you. It's definitely,
man.
like you were saying, it's something that we've been trying to schedule and set up for a while. I know we've been going back and forth for a while, like, oh yeah, when you can do this stuff.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, being distance and time and stuff just always never really worked
hard.
out. But it ended up working out perfectly this weekend.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, drive 3.5 hours on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hell yeah, man. So you having a good weekend?
Yeah, it's been good. We I had to, like I said earlier, I had that 3-day appointment scheduled for the whole weekend, and as soon as he got here, I realized I'm not going to need all 3 days.
Yeah.
So we ended up working on it first day, Friday, kind of, bullshit a little bit, and then Saturday I was like, all right, we'll finish it then, and now today I'm just kicking it, hanging out. It's just nice, kind of be relaxing. It's been pretty hectic last few weeks for me, so it's nice to just chill out.
You got some big stuff coming up.
Yeah, we finally got the keys and everything, start trying to open up a new shop. It's going to be my first time, so a little nervous, scared.
Sure.
I wasn't mentally prepared for it at all.
For sure.
So it's one of those things where just like one night I just realized like, oh, okay, I actually have to do this now. Like I actually have to start buying like random things I never thought I would. So it's gonna be a fun experience for sure.
Hell yeah! Was it good stuff that kind of triggered that fall into motion, or what?
Yeah, I mean it's always been a goal of mine for a while. I've always wanted to open up my own shop. Always kind of want to have like a small little group of stuff. And I started 2025 with like, this is the year I'm gonna do it. Like I bought my first house last year, and I realized I'm like, all right, like nothing's really holding me back anymore. So let's do this. And told myself 2025 was going to be the year that I started getting stuff going. And maybe by the end of it, then we actually make moves. And within a week of like, all right, let's do it, I have the keys. So that's where like mentally I wasn't ready for it because it all just kind of fell into place perfectly all at once. And I got the keys. I went to my current shop, Broken Arrow, and I went up to Mitch, the owner, and I was like, hey, man, I don't want to be one of those shitty guys who, like, tell you within, like, a few days of, I'm going to be leaving. I told him as soon as I got the keys, at, like, the soonest possible point, like, hey, this is going to be happening. I'm going to be heading out of here. And he was cool. He congratulated me, shook my hand, so I'm very thankful for that.
That's
I have
cool.
had, that negative interaction with some artists. So there's some shop owners.
I've heard some horror stories.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I haven't had like terrible ones, but I have had like the one where the owner's like, yeah, dude, you can tell me, I'll never hold it against you, blah blah. And then that time actually comes, and you tell him, and he's like, yeah, we're cool. And then you come to find out that night he like blocked you on all social media and then ignores you for the next like 2 weeks, like wouldn't look at me, wouldn't say anything, nothing.
Oh man.
I've had like moments like that, and then you have the normal ones where like it becomes like a little bit of a bicker or something like that, negative interaction. Which, I mean, it's a rough topic to talk with some shop owners.
You would think it wouldn't be so harsh though, because I feel like just tattoo shops everywhere. It's kind of just a revolving door. People come and go. One of the reasons I admire tattooing so much because I have the freedom to do that. I can pick up and go anywhere in the country, Yep. You're just constantly growing, and like all artists are constantly growing. So it ends up being one of those things where like, eventually they are, you're going to outgrow where you're at. It's just how it's going to be. I know I worked at a shop in a college town, and that was like, got my footing. I got not started. That was the second shop I worked at, but that was like where I really started forming like my career. But you can only get so far in that type of area.
And eventually I was like, dude, you know what? Like, I have an opportunity to go somewhere else. The shop was really nice. Some of the artists there were really nice. So, like, let's go there. And when I went there, like, I learned a lot of good and bad. And it just, I moved out of, like, my comfort zone of, like, where I established.
For sure.
And honestly, like, sorry, I'm kind of just rambling now, but one of the biggest things I learned from, like, that move was, as an artist, you almost have to move out into a new area to continue certain growth. So, like, I moved completely out of my clientele. I moved into an area where I had to establish all new clients. And I realized a lot of those negative professional traits I had, like, I would show up late. I would cancel appointments, like, hours before just because I stayed up super late playing video games. And I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, they're homies. I've made the connection with this client. Like, oh, when I move to a new area and that person's the first time meeting me and I pull something like that, they're just like, oh, screw this guy. Yeah. And I realized really quick, you can't, that's not sustainable. You have to evolve and grow. And I mean, that's one of the things that happen as artists is you grow and evolve and you realize stuff like that. But like I said, I kind of rambled on that.
No, I mean,
that's great shit right there.
Yeah, I think everything you said was, like, you got to shed that skin to walk into a new environment and be exposed,
Yeah, you being around other people and just how other people do other things, you get different perspectives. Like I was told for the longest time, booth rental is like the worst way to go about stuff. And then when I went to a booth rental spot, I realized, oh wow, this is more for me. Like, the shop isn't bringing me anything. It isn't bringing me clients. I have my own. So, like, you might as well do a booth rental. So it's, even though you're told, like, one perspective your entire career, when you go to a new area and you learn from other artists, like, you're going to have a whole new perspective on certain things.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool, like, looking at how that evolved and changed and stuff, going to different shops. So I'm hoping I could take all this information that I've gathered doing that into my shop, and I hope I can kind of pass on some of that knowledge into some of the other artists that may not have had that, or they did, and we just are able to bounce off each other and mesh really well.
Oh, it'll happen for sure, and if it doesn't, it won't be your fault by any means.
Right.
Yeah, because you own your shop too. How long have you owned?
I think it's been 4 years.
4 years.
Now.
When you got started, were you just as nervous as I am right now with opening mine?
I had a pretty slow build up. When I moved out of aisle 9. We worked at, me and Tim, at the shop that we have now, but it was just one booth. And it was basically like a 2,000 square foot private booth
pretty
for
big.
a year. And then we brought on Taya. And then after like 6 months maybe, then we brought on another person. So it was very slow build up, and I feel like it was easy to kind of, it wasn't a huge pressure to, like, grand opening. We didn't actually have a grand opening in that shop for like a year and a half.
Yeah, it was a while.
Right. Yeah, I heard from a lot of artists, like, that's definitely the way to go. Like, that slow build. Like, don't just hire the first person that comes to you, like the lowest hanging fruit kind of thing. Like, it might be difficult, it might be daunting, it might be scary, like, going into it, knowing, like, oh, I have all these bills I got to pay and all this stuff like that. And that's kind of where I'm at, is like, oh wow, like, I signed the lease. And then the landlord looks at me, he's like, all right, cool, like 3 months of a deposit or whatever it was. And I'm just like, oh,
shit.
Crap. Okay, yeah, you're right. Like, I actually have to do that now. Like, oh. So now I'm looking at it and I'm crunching numbers and I'm like, man, like, I might need, like, another artist or two, like, to kind of keep this, like, comfortable and stuff like that. And it's a little scary right now, but, I mean, I think we'll be fine. We'll be able to get through it, so.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, pushing yourself into that uncomfortable space.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crucial.
I'm excited because Chris was kind of explaining you to me earlier, like, you're very detail-oriented. You're very, like, you have to know everything going on. I'm kind of a mix between both of you with that. I don't like moving into something that I've never had any experience with. I don't know anything about. And moving into owning my first shop is definitely going to be that. I don't know anything about some of the stuff to come. So, like, it's super scary to me. And it's one of those things where, like, I don't want to fail. And I know how I get when it comes to that. And I'm sitting here thinking like worst case scenario, like I could lose my house. Like, oh my God, because I want to make sure this shop doesn't fail so much. I'll fall behind on that. And, oh God, I might have to get a different car because I might have to be driving like some Craigslist beater. Because, all this weird stuff where like everything I've built my life up to could come crashing down if this for some reason just fails.
Yeah.
But like in reality, like think about that. There's
it would take a lot to happen.
There's really no way that could happen unless like I, get like some crazy drug addiction or something like that. But,
right. But there's something about going into it with that perspective, that attitude is like, I won't let this fail with anything.
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of people that go into it without that and then they do, but not too many people that I know of that go into it with that and fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm hoping my drive, because I have a drive like with tattooing and stuff like that to just keep what I want to do, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it succeed. And I've done that with a lot of stuff in life. And I keep thinking about that mindset when I get those thoughts of like, I could lose everything. I keep that mindset of like, man, like I've made this work. I made that work. Like we can make this work. Mm-hmm, yeah. Like I will go back to eating ramen noodles every single night if I need to.
Right.
Like I will make it work. So that helps me when it gets to like those scary thoughts.
Yeah. Right.
But like my girlfriend Nikki, like she's like, "Are you excited?" And I'm like, "No." Like I have not been able to comprehend like an excitement feeling yet because it's just stress and anxiety and like worries. So I'm hoping it kind of starts when we get back home. I have the next 3 days off. I'm gonna really start getting in there, cleaning, taking stuff out, starting the build. So
what all needs to be done?
So we got really lucky. The spot we got is an old pet store that I used to go to when I bought my house. I got like a really dope fish tank. I love goldfish, which is really stupid.
I've seen your goldfish, dude.
I love those things. And I told myself when I buy my house, I'm going to have a really nice setup. So I went to this pet store and this dude, I swear he looks at me like a whale. Like he's like, yes, money's coming in. Because I have like the craziest little fish tank setup. I used to go there and when I went there, I always thought, I'm like, this is a nice setup. Like this plaza it's in, the location, really cool. So I ended up finding essentially the landlord by mistake that owned that spot. Long story short, they showed it to me and I'm like, this place is perfect. It already has like a black and white epoxy floor. The landlord's wife was going to make it into like a bar kind of lounge area. So she already like painted it all like black and dark gray. So I'm like, oh, big step there, kind of done too. And because she was doing that, it already had, or like the pet store and like her bar thing, it already has some plumbing laid out because in my county, you have to be able to turn left or right out of your booth and there be a sink. You can't walk across an aisle. You can't go through a door. It has to be right there, pretty much in your booth.
Interesting.
So the plumbing was a big plus, like it's there. So really all I have to do is I have to install the sinks where they need to be. I'm going to have one of my clients who owns like a epoxy floor company. I'm going to have him come out and like buff the floors and make it real nice.
Yeah.
And then really from there it's decor. Like it's really not a lot that needs done.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm having like a custom desk made just to kind of fit where it needs to go and all that stuff. It's really nice. I don't got to like demo any walls or do anything like that.
Oh yeah.
Painting. Kinda half-ass paint just because like they kind of quickly threw it together just as a mock-up, but yeah, really honestly it's not a huge amount of work that he's done.
That's awesome, man. That plumbing can fucking get up there,
dude.
Oh yeah.
The scariest part of it was when I had the plumber come in and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my god, this is gonna cost like tens of thousands of dollars, like this is gonna suck, like I'm gonna need to get out a loan for like 50 grand just to do like some of the build stuff. Luckily plumbing wasn't that much, but when he first came in, he's looking at it and he's like, oh yeah, your main drain is over here. That's where we need to tap into. Where are you looking to put your sinks? And I'm like, all the way over there. And he's like, that's going to be a problem. He's like, you're going to have to tear out all this floor to install all the pipes underground to get all the way to the main drain that's over there. And I'm like, dude, I can't do that. Like, I like these floors. I want to keep them. And he's like, no, you're going to have to get rid of them. We're going to have to do this. I'm like, well, what if we did like an exterior pipe, like a drain? I've seen shops do that. I'm not opposed to that. And that, like, I'm freaking out at this point. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, Yeah, no, that's completely fine. We could do that easy. I didn't think
Shit,
you wanted to do that.
dude.
I'm like, oh no, dude, like absolutely, like let's do that. And so luckily we discussed that, and it's only gonna cost like a couple thousand. Where like I thought it was gonna be like 10 grand or something.
Yeah.
Dude. And I'm like, he showed me the quote, and I'm like, oh thank God, yeah, dude, doable, absolutely, let's do that. So we're gonna do like one exterior drain on the one wall, and it goes over. The water pipes are gonna be able to go through the ceiling and down, so it won't be that hard at all. And he's like, yeah, I'll have it done in a day. I'm like, oh thank God, dude.
Oh, hell yeah.
Way easier than tearing out floor and doing all that stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
luckily
Yeah,
we're able to
man.
make that work.
We got pretty lucky too when we moved in.
Yeah.
It was pretty done already. We just had to go buy some like cabinets and put them on the wall for stations.
Because your county, I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Your county, they just it's like a certain distance from each booth, a sink, or how is it for that? For you,
We got 9 booths. It's all one big open room. We got a sink on one side, sink on the other.
that's it.
Yeah.
Ah,
There's no walls in
I
between
wish.
booths, no partitions. It's all one open pathway.
I wish it was that easy because I already have a sink installed in this unit on the opposite side of the building where I'm doing everything, because pretty much it's just one big hall. It's kind of like this aisle here.
Yeah.
All the booths will be on one side, and it's like a lounge seating area on the right. Just the way it's built out is kind of the best way for it. But on the right side, there's an existing sink right now. So technically, you just have to get out of your booth and walk across the room, which is only 20, 30 feet, and there's a sink. Anywhere else, that'd be okay. But for them, they're like, yeah, no, you have to be able to stand up and turn.
You're
There's
going
a
to walk
wild.
through the lounge?
Yeah.
You're going to walk 20 feet?
What county are you in?
We're in Summit County, up in Akron. Well, right outside of Akron. Where the shop's going to be is Talmadge, but it's Summit County.
Oh, yeah.
In theory, they just don't want you to have, which it makes sense. They don't want you to have like blood on your hands, and you have to walk across the aisle of traffic. So if there was like a client walking through and you just shot up and ran over there,
Right.
they don't want you to bump in and wipe blood on them or something like that.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
And then obviously doors, they don't want to do that. But counties are weird when it comes
It's
to that health
crazy,
stuff,
dude.
man.
You know what our county's about to start doing? They're starting to do that I
That's
think is
right.
crazy? They're going to make us weigh our trash.
weigh your why?
We have to
Dude.
weigh our trash, and we can't have above a certain limit every month. Otherwise, we're going to have to, like,
The health departments. do.
yeah.
Yeah. We
Well,
had
it's
our.
for the waste companies.
Yeah, so the waste company is just like, our county doesn't necessarily offer tattoo shops a way of disposal. So they've recommended certain ways, like, dude, like saran wrapping the fuck out of sharps containers and shit.
Yeah.
You know, you could, just in throwing the dumps, just make sure nothing can get into it, whatever. But yeah, now we have to, because all that shit's going to the dump and they don't know what to do with it. They're trying to figure out, okay, how much is actually coming through to know whether or not we need to get a company involved. But it's crazy because the health department gal was saying that some places and other counties will drop stuff at hospitals because they have companies that dispose of the shit. But it's like, it's so wild from county to county.
Yeah.
They instead of making us weigh it, they should just make us use biohazard red bags.
I think
And that's
for
it.
for our county, that's one thing. Like, this all happened so quick. Open a shop. I don't even know all the details.
Yeah.
So I don't even know with this. But I heard, and I'm pretty sure with our county, you have to, like, your waste for any like tattoo needles, that kind of stuff. It all has to go through like a separate company. Like, I have my trash company, but any waste like that has to go through another company that has to come out and pick it up and everything. But I know like the shop I started at, you were able to, like you say, like saran wrap the like sharps container, throw it in a box, seal the box, and just throw it in your dumpster. But no, that's crazy. You have to weigh it. Is that going to be like are they doing that just to be like, so we can get the idea of what you're doing? Or is that like, that's their solution to whatever problem they're having?
I don't know. When we talked to the health person, I felt like she was new. Like, she didn't even know.
Because she
Like, the
started,
information that was on the paper.
yeah, she started out thinking maybe it was just the needles, like sharps containers you
Yeah.
had to weigh. But me being a detail-oriented person, I was like, I'll read through this whole sheet real quick. I'll get it. No, it's anything like gloves, like anything that's got like bio on it.
Any station trash, basically.
Everything. So we were just gonna take a fucking scale and put a trash can on it, put it back to 0, and
You're like Nikki, dude, my girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's the one who reads into that stuff. Dude, if I would have got that, if someone they would have been like, "Oh, it's just your needles," I would have just been like, "That's all the information I need.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play dumb if you guys come at me because that is what you told me." So
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
doing that 100%. She's the one who like looks into it, and I'm like, "No, stop! Like,
Right, dude.
we're gonna play dumb if anything happens."
Yeah,
It's
dude.
like, but that's crazy. You have to weigh it.
Yeah.
I know. Gabe Lundis, drawing dead art on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's a buddy of mine. I reached out to him when I was thinking about opening the shop because it can get a little weird sometimes, like having to ask like a local shop owner, like I'm gonna open a shop like 10 minutes from you, or like the current shop owner, hey, I'm thinking of opening my shop, like give me
Right.
some info. So I reached out to like a few more out of town people, and I reached out to Gabe. He owns I think it's Realm 9 out in Salem, Massachusetts. And I was asking him some stuff, and he was like, "Oh, well, you know what you're really gonna want to make sure you do is you're gonna want to go and get the paint that you're gonna be using, and go to your health department." I'm like, "Wait, what? Like the wall color?" He's like, "Yeah, out here there's like a certain like pigment level you gotta have your walls or something like that." He's
Whoa.
like, "You're gonna have walls dividing your booths, right?" And I'm like, "No, like what?" He's like, "Oh, out here you have to. You can't have open concept." And I'm like, "That's weird. Like,
Oh.
I've seen shops do that, but I didn't know it was like a requirement." He's like, "Oh yeah, you have to, because if someone opens your front door, a gust of wind can come through and blow dirt into your stations. So you have to have a wall that divides it." And I'm like, okay, I understand the mentality
Yeah.
behind that, but that's like
Yeah.
excessive, dude. Like,
I'm like 10
What
feet from our front door.
yeah, like what hurricane level wind is gonna be blowing this door?
Right.
But like, yeah, county to county, there's just crazy
It's
weird
a
things.
lot different.
There's a lumens thing I've heard with some shops.
What?
Yeah, your lighting has to be a certain level, and that's crazy because most people have like
Ring
ring
lights
light
and
or something
shit.
like that. But yeah, it can get crazy with some of that stuff.
That's
and
nuts, dude.
I'm thankful so far. I called the health department and I was like, "Hey, what do I need?" And they're pretty much just like sinks. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And I
That's
did
cool.
ask, I'm like, "What about a fish tank?" Because I want my clients all think I'm crazy, and when I'm like, "I got cool fish that I import from Thailand," and they're like,
Dude.
"Goldfish?" They think like the little comet or some shit.
Right.
And I'm like, "No, dude, like they're big, chunky fucking things, dude.
Fuck
Like I want
yeah,
to have them
dude.
at my shop so they can see, like, see, I'm
Yeah.
not crazy. I'm
Right.
not the weird guy that has weird goldfish. Like, these are cool, right?"
Hell yeah, dude.
So
I think that'd be sick to have a big ass
Yeah.
fish tank,
yeah,
dude.
the dude said, he's like, "I don't see why not," but I wasn't talking to like the head guy, so
Yeah.
we'll see on that. But that'd be cool, I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen one in a shop before.
Yeah, I know there's weird rules when it comes to some of it and stuff, but there's I know some shops like they'll have fish tanks, but you can't have it in the area that has to be in a completely separated area from
Yeah.
your stations. Understandable, but also a fish tank, like it's not like they're really, you know, it's like
It's, how is it
getting
gonna affect
anywhere. It's
anything?
right in that area. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
It's gonna be a cool experience. I'm excited to like go through that stage, but it is worrisome. I worry that I'm gonna be like, "All right, cool, everything's built, everything's good," and then they're just like, "Yeah, no, you were supposed to do this and that," and I'm like, "Oh, and I have to tear shit out." That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Should go all good though. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Like I said, these next 3 days, I'm really gonna start diving into like some of the stuff that's required, needed, what I need to start doing to get it going. Because this all happened about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I'd say. My official post of it opening was more or less just to be like, "Hey, this is happening. I have 2 booths open though. Like, if anybody, you know, that kind of thing. Like, but we'll, you know."
You have
we'll see
anyone
how
reach
it
out?
goes. Not yet. I think mostly because like I don't have like I haven't posted like this is the shop yet. I just
Right.
posted like the first run of the logo and just kind of subtly was like, "I'll have 2 booths," like that kind of thing. I do have another artist. I'm not gonna say who. He hasn't made like his own post or anything like that saying, but I do have another artist who's gonna be joining me. So 2 of the 4 booths will be taken care of so far, and then hopefully we'll be able to get more people from there.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking to have like just like nice professional quality artists. Like I want people that are driven to grow and driven to, you know, just get their name out there and just do that. I don't want to have someone who's just like completely content with like, oh yeah, you know, I'm in this small town, that's all I need kind of thing. It's like
hopeful for walk-ins.
Yeah, like you want to be around people with that same mentality, because that pushes you as well. You know what I mean? I'm sure. I mean, you have a driven shop. I'm sure you understand that, and I'm sure you've worked with people that have not really wanted to grow, or like they're too content, and you kind of get like a weird feeling when you are around that for too long. Kind of start. You're a creature of, or not a creature of habit, but you become who you're around. Or there's some saying where you become what the closest 5 people you are to, or something like that. And it's true. You really do. So I want to make sure the people that I surround myself with are people that I can see myself like becoming also. And I miss to have that bar set, and then we'll just go from there with everything.
At one point we had everyone in a booth. We had 9 booths filled plus a piercer.
Yeah.
Now there's 3 of them open, 4 of them open, and they have been for 6 months. You know, just because.
So find that perfect fit.
Yeah, man. And the ones that do work at the shop, I mean, they haven't fucking done.
They have not gotten off
anything
from the chairs all weekend.
That's good, man. That's awesome. That's what you want, dude.
Yeah.
Because you work at the shop essentially, right? What, like, I know you're like photographer, and now you're this. What is your role with the shop in general? Like, what is your day to day? Like, what are you expected?
Oh shit! It's always something new, Bubba. I do like emails. I do all the admin stuff. You know, inventory, all that boring shit.
You're like a manager.
Yeah, so I'd say shop admin is like for that. But I mean, I've tried to dip in and help these guys with marketing when I can. Okay. More like giving them, you know, a fishing pole versus a fish. I don't want to do it for you, but let me show you why and how you can do that. So, you know, everyone pretty much came in with like no website, really no social media at all. And that's primarily what I do for Chris, but I've also passed on a lot of that to them. So
that's good. So I've always wondered what your guys' like work relationship was when it came to that. Because I think when I first even heard of you guys, you were just kind of like the photographer. Like, you did like his photos and stuff like that. At least that's how it came off. I don't know if there was ever a label put to it or not. Sure. But like, as I've seen you grow, I've seen like you're right there with him. And it seems like every single time like a new milestone's coming, like you're kind of like the brainchild behind it. You're the one doing it. Like, I could tell. Like, I
love that you noticed that, because he feels like it's not noticed.
Oh yeah, I know for a fact you're not the one who's doing the cool little edits with the photos that make them look like paper tears or whatever. I know you're not the one doing that. I know that's coming from you.
It's good to know that, dude.
Yeah, like you notice it, and I've always wondered. I'm like, what is he like? Are you only hiring this dude to come in and take photos every day, or like now at this point, like what are you doing? So I always wondered like, if you had like a second job and you were just doing that off the hand, but now it definitely seems question. Like, no, you're doing that. It seems, at least.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we started out, I think I was bouncing around with a couple things. Man, I worked in an auto shop at one time, kind of doing content for them. I think it was a smoothie stand at one point.
Wait, so even at the auto shop, you were doing were you working at the auto shop? Like, working on cars?
So
or was it just a marketing thing?
So at that time, it was just photos with just them. But I think with Chris is like, you know, it's why I love being in the tattoo world and not doing tattoos is like, I am still pushed so fucking hard in everything that I'm doing. But I've also had access to learning so many different things, you know, like, oh man, like photos and videos, obviously it's been a major part of what I've been doing.
Yeah.
But like the marketing side of stuff, websites has been a big thing. You know, interpersonal growth. That was a huge thing for a long time because I was not like a great person before I got brought into tattoos. I wasn't a shitty person.
Yeah.
I just like, you know, what we was talking about, I just didn't give a shit.
Immature.
Yeah.
Kind of a good way.
I was immature, you know, and I think that being around Chris and around people we've been around, that's, you know, that's also just opened me up to stuff. So it's hard. I've done a lot of shit. Pretty much everything besides actually tattooing somebody, I would say.
But that's cool because, like, content creating, obviously with social media growing every day, like the algorithm's always changing. So you're always having to learn and adapt with that.
Yeah.
I feel the same mirrors in the tattooing. Tattooing, especially the past 10 years, has grown an insane amount.
Yeah.
And having that, like those two worlds meeting and having one person do that, you're constantly growing. You're constantly having to learn new stuff and all that. And then, like, for you, having someone that knows that and able to do that because you're putting all your eggs into tattooing. You're constantly growing, constantly growing. Same as I was saying with him, with you. I've seen you grow. First time I ever ran into you, I don't even think I introduced myself, but it was the Youngstown Tattoo Classic. I remember a buddy of mine came up and he's like, dude, you have to go see what is being done over there. That is the smoothest color blending I have ever seen, or whatever. I just remember it was the smoothest something he's ever seen. But it was a color. It was a lighthouse with like a purple rose or something with it, I think is what it was. I know the purple rose was in it. But he did it at the Youngstown Tattoo Classic like years ago. I think it was there. And that was the first time I ever run into you. And then seeing everything evolve from there, you've grown just as much. And it's awesome to see that. And then you two coming together to have that. I mean, dude, you guys are doing a podcast at a convention. 10 years ago when I started tattooing, I never would have been like, oh, that's a thing I'm going to run into at some point, is someone doing a podcast. Like, no. So you're constantly growing, and being a detail-oriented person like you are, having to learn every nuance of marketing. And then you said, like, you kind of you're like wing it stuff. You don't neither. You're detail-oriented just as much, but it's on that creative side of tattooing where his is like the other part that is needed also. And that's where I feel like a lot of tattoo artists tend to kind of fall flat, is they choose one or the other. Mm-hmm. You very rarely run into those people that have the mix of it, and that's really where like you see a lot of growth in the industry and in certain artists and stuff. So it's cool seeing that with you two for sure. Am I right on that? You were at the Youngstown Tattoo Classic. They did a purple flower. Because we didn't introduce each other. I've always just went my entire career being like, that was Chris. I'm pretty sure that was Chris Powell.
Yeah. I did a purple rose, but then I also did a lighthouse.
Okay, so they weren't the same piece? Okay. Yeah. I just remember it was the purple rose. He came up to me. So it must have been the color blending then. It
was like purple and opaque grays, I think.
Yeah.
Purple, gray, white looking flower.
And my buddy was like, dude, I saw him. He was like wiping it down a rabbit. You got to go look at that. Oh, my God. It's so good. And I think
that was like 6 years ago or something too.
That was the first time I ever you were ever in the vicinity of me there.
More than that, because you wasn't on yet.
No, yeah, he wasn't. I don't think he was part of it.
That's before me. 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, it was just at the convention. I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. And then I think it was probably another year or two before you popped back up into onto my radar, really. And I don't even remember how it was, but it was just like your tattoos just started getting brought up, and now it's just grown so much. But now, like we even mentioned the other day, like, dude, I have clients that come in because we're similar styles and stuff. I have clients that come in and they're getting tattooed by me, and they'll just bring you up, like, oh, did you ever hear about this Chris dude down in like Cincinnati? And I'm like, no, he's Chris Powell. He's in Dayton. They're like, yeah, dude, his work's fucking phenomenal, blah, 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 and just all this stuff. And, like, it's funny, like, how that works. And you mentioned that
all the time.
Yeah,
vice versa, dude, you know.
It's funny how that happens and works. And
you and Jake Ross.
Yep, me and Jake have a lot of it, too. There's been times I did one tattoo specifically. It was, like, a Melania tattoo from Elden Ring. Oh, yeah. And I did, like, this cool red background and stuff. I was trying to experiment adding color into my tattoos. And I posted it, and my buddy Antoine, he's like, what in the Jake Ross? This is so good. And I'm like, don't say that, man. Like, I was really trying not to make it look like something. He's doing something real similar. And I knew as soon as I designed that piece, I'm like, dude, this looks like a Jake Ross tattoo, but man, I'm excited to do this. This is a cool piece.
I mean, you don't know how many times I've done tattoos that's really all I used to do. That was the main way I grew, because I didn't really have anyone to really get critiqued by until I
Yeah.
started out 9. It was just looking at other tattooer shit and then designing something and tattooing something similar.
Oh yeah.
You know, until I could develop my own kick.
Yeah, and like doing that, it's good. Obviously, if you're just blatantly copying,
Right.
that's not good. But even then, there's still, at least in my opinion, there's still a level of like that can evolve you.
Yeah.
Don't go take credit for it, but like if you're an apprentice and you got like say fake skin and you see a cool like traditional neotrad piece, something like that, go for it, copy it, because
Yeah.
like you'll learn certain things where you're just like, oh, like you're actually breaking it down a little bit, like, oh, that's why they did this, or that's how
Right.
they did that, or like you'll learn certain movements because when you're designing, you kind of avoid, like you're doing your own design, you sometimes tend to find yourself avoiding like those difficult things that are in the pieces. So you design around doing that difficult thing. And then if you go and copy someone's thing, they're not avoiding it because they may have had it down, and that kind of forces you to do it.
Right.
But you get to our level where like you obviously you don't want to copy someone's
Yeah.
stuff. You do take heavy inspiration sometimes, and it does help kind of bringing some of that in, and you kind of realize like, oh, that's really cool. I like that, or that wasn't really for me, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I recently started doing that with like some of my opaque grays. I've been adding like opaque gray into like the background of my stuff, and I did that solely based off of a comment I saw someone had in like it was like one of the tattoo lover pages or something like that, or like the fuck your critique or something like that page. And I just saw a comment, and he was like, what do you guys think of this? I took advice by adding opaques into the background. It was just like that. And I was like, I never thought of doing that. That's cool. I don't even think his, like what he was doing was what I took it as of what I'm going to do. But I decided, I'm like, I'm going to start adding opaques into the background.
Right.
And, see how that looks. And just like random like little things from other artists can sometimes spark into something cool. And
Yeah.
I've been loving it ever since.
Yeah.
Doing that like technique has been cool. I've really been enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've wanted to dabble a few times. I just never commit. you know.
It's
Try-
sometimes hard because you'll have like, especially you. I've been seeing you doing like whole sleeves. It's hard to take on like a new technique midway through a sleeve, especially when you're adding like a
Right,
new
dude.
color thing.
I've been
'cause
doing that with
it's-
black.
Yeah,
I switched to Panthera Gold.
yeah.
It seems, just at least trying it out for an extent. Because I have a habit of using one thing and then just using it for
Yeah,
fucking ever.
forever.
And I've used the same Empire set for 7 years, and I love the gray wash. And I love the ivory black, but sometimes I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with
Yeah.
it. You know,
I've had moments like that a few times. Being a part of Empire's pro team, I've been able to contact Colt like straight up and be like, "Hey man, like, what about this? What can I do for here?" And he'll turn me on to like new things. Like I had no idea. They have a signature series with one of their artists where they have an extra dark. It's not even just dark; it's extra dark. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing." So next thing you know, I get a package in the mail, and there's like 5 bottles of extra dark. I was like, "Oh, dude, this is sweet." So I started using that. They have like 2 new blacks. They have Vine Black and Mars Black.
Yeah.
Don't ask me the difference. Colt has told me like 5 different times. I have no idea. But Mars Black is really cool. I've been really enjoying Mars Black. It's if I can remember what Colt said, it heals, warmer, and stuff like that. I can't 100%
right.
recall, but it for me is like a good medium between Ivory and their classic. Like it's still dark, but it's also thin. You don't got to worry about like crazy blowouts with like the Ivory, because the Ivory is like a nice concentrate. And with me, like I sometimes run into like it's pretty easy to blow out, or it's sometimes a little harder to just like fade out and stuff. Where the Mars is like that good middle ground. And then I heard a lot of people like the Vine Black also. I personally haven't really used it too much. I like the Mars and I stuck with it. So
you have to check it out, man.
yeah, that and like I said, the extra dark. The extra dark is a cool touch. It's like
I always
kinda
use
keeps
the
it-
ivory, classic, and then dark, and use classic as my bridge.
I've
but-
done that before too. I like kind of simplifying it as much as I can.
Yeah.
So I just stuck with the Mars Black, extra dark, medium, light, extra light. But I've been experimenting with some cool stuff where I've been like dipping into opaques. Like I'll have like a set of opaque for that'll equal what my tones are, and I'll dip into the opaque and then dip into the wash and then go. And it kind of gives it like this milkier, like silver tone. That's a little different than like a whitewash, but it's pretty cool. And I've been talking to Colt about doing something with that, so yeah, we'll see where that goes if it goes anywhere.
That's cool, man.
How do you feel when it heals? Have you got to see much of it healed?
Well, so the first time I ever tried it was on this full Harry Potter sleeve, and that client, I love it. It's some of my favorite healed work I've ever seen. Like I have a cool, like we did like a realistic dark mark, I think is what, I never watched Harry Potter, so I don't know, but the skull and the snake.
Right.
On the back of her calf, and it's like one of my favorite healed tattoos ever. The scales on the snake look so good, dude. It looks like it's fucking real. She went up to the Cleveland convention this past weekend, and she brought home 5 awards for her leg alone, and it's not even a done sleeve, so she wasn't even able to enter it into sleeve. And 5 awards, 4 of which are first place, and 1 is a second place, and the second place lost to my first place. So I think it heals great.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently other people think it heals great because it did great there.
Right.
Some good results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying it, and especially after knowing that, I'm definitely going to push it a lot more, because there are some times where like I feel like it's not doing anything. I feel like, it doesn't really seem like it's doing much, and there's some times where I feel like it's definitely like, you could tell like, oh, there's opaques in there.
Yeah, probably has a lot to do with just the person's skin, and
yeah,
I'm sure. But
there's a bunch of like experimenting I like to do with that, but it gets hard because like I was saying, I'll have like a full arm, and I don't want to start halfway through that where I'm like, oh, let's start adding opaques to our wall.
Right.
So I have to finish it, and then there are some times where you have that one client where it's the first time. It's like, okay, cool, I kind of experiment, but then maybe their skin isn't like the best to like experiment with. So it's you try to go back to what you know, and it gets a little weird sometimes. But I like experimenting.
And I should more. I should definitely experiment.
Dude,
more.
You have, dude. You have like those color pop pieces, the piece from Hell City.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what I instantly think about is that I think it was a Falcon you did not too long ago. It had like open. Like really open shading at the top, which was dope because it still had something. But through
I've noticed in your designs. I mean, you may not even be conscious to it, but I've noticed in your designs that you definitely have like there's stuff you're experimenting with. I can see it.
That's where I've been really trying to grow the most.
Yeah.
We talked with Hip a few shows back, and it's like at some point the application can only be so good, right?
Yeah.
So from that point, it's, well, how well can you put together the composition? So
exactly.
I guess, I have been putting a lot of effort in that realm.
Yep.
And then just kind of sticking with the gray-white series and just doing that same thing. But I have been really trying to push with the designs.
And I've definitely noticed it. We kind of hit on it a little bit too. I've noticed, I love how your composition of your sleeves are. Everything just flows together so well. It wraps all the way around. Like, you'll have subject matter on the front that does wrap around, but it looks natural. It doesn't look like it was, you just printed the stencil too big. Like, it all looks really good. And me, like, that's something I'm trying to, like, grow on and get better at, because my biggest weakness, at least in my mind, is, like, my sleeve compositions. There's a few times where I just felt like they almost look like what would that be, like a totem pole? Is that it? Where it's just like subject, that's it. And I'm like, no, dude, I need these to look natural and flowing. So I've been trying to, if you have a sleeve project with me, I'm trying to design the entire sleeve before your first session. Whereas starting in the industry and growing, I learned, sleeves, it's just 4 panels: inner forearm, outer bicep, inner bicep, and that's it. Just design a piece for each one of those and then blend them together. And you can get away with that, but like to get to like how your sleeves are looking, you have to design it all at once.
Yeah, or maybe just take it one more step and do 2.
Yeah.
Inside, outside.
Yeah.
That's how I usually design them.
Yeah.
And try to connect them in the middle with something.
I think a big thing that you guys have implemented, a lot of people at the shop recently, has been a vision meeting, though, where you've just like gotten together with the client and been like, really dialing into what their goal is, and then making something out of that, and not really starting the tattooing yet until that's finished.
Well, do you have consultations?
I do consultations. From the consultation, we book 2 appointments. One is a vision meeting and a start date, and they're usually back to back unless it's a single day. If it's a single day, we do it that morning. Okay. So if you do 2 or 3 days, if you're doing 3 days, you'll be with me for 4.
Okay.
And I just do the vision meeting for free for now.
So you pretty much, and I don't mean any of this in an offensive way, these are just straight questions. So you pretty much tell your client, hey, take 4 days off of work. You have to come in. That's what my biggest, like, I was curious on when you mentioned that.
Man.
I'm like, damn, like, straight up just like, hey, take a day off and just sit in the shop with me and design.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
shit.
but I do it for free, and clients love it, man.
Yeah.
They can be a part of it.
And you'd be surprised at how many people can and will.
And I think that it's such a sweet spot to be able to take their vision and make it my own.
Yeah.
Instead of designing on the forend and taking what we talked about 3 months ago and just doing whatever I want, kind of. So like we're gonna look at images together. Hell, save a bunch.
Explain why this image may work and this one may not.
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
literally they just sit here on the chair next to me for 6-7 hours, and we just.
Do you ever feel as if, man, I feel bad for this client, they're just sitting there? Because like when I design, I mean, you may be different, who knows? When I design, there may be like a good like 45 minutes to an hour where I may not say a word to you because I'm like locked in a little bit, like let's make this work kind of thing.
Well, I try to preface that it might be boring,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
turn on TV or something for them, kind of thing.
well, no, not even that.
They just
Just
sit there.
music, I try to let them be involved in reference searching, and some of them want to be helpful, some of them don't care.
Yeah, just do whatever you want, man.
But it's like, if I want to sit here and design your piece for 7 hours, you can sit here with me and we can both be a part of it. You're gonna have it forever. What's one day of, And I don't charge them for it. It's just a benefit of starting this journey, And I want it to. I don't want you to feel pressured into something I designed at home. Or tell me no, and we got to start over anyways, So just bear through this day, and we'll fucking create something dope, and then start on it tomorrow.